What's going on, guys? Welcome back to United View. Hope everyone is doing very well, having a great Wednesday, midweek settings, the day before match day. There is a game tomorrow for Manchester United. I know. I try to put it out of my head as well. But considering it is the day before match day, who better than to be joined by Mr. Positivity himself? Marcel, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm good, Owen. I'm good. It's good to see you. Hello, United View family. Hopefully, a result comes our way tomorrow. Maybe a draw or something. But yeah, I'm good. Thanks, man.
Good. Now, before we get into anything as well, Mr. Positivity, that is a name that you have given yourself, I've noticed on
I changed it. I
social
changed it the
media.
other day.
I was about to say, and I was just going to check. I'll check before I set everything up that he's still calling himself Mr. Positivity. And I've seen that it's changed. It is no longer Mr. Positivity. You're running through different names. You are now just referring to yourself as the Optimist with a magician hat emoji.
Yeah. Because positivity is like you're blindly positive sometimes, and I think I can criticize the players sometimes. I'm always optimistic about the result or the way that we're gonna play or the performance of certain players. But being positive sometimes, that's like optimism and positivity they're kind of like cousins. They're relatively the same thing, but they're not exactly the same thing.
Exactly. I think I prefer The Optimist. That sounds like a film that would win an Oscar. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Nominated.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
The Optimist. You know what I
And
mean?
I've got a
I
weird
think
hat
that
on
sounds
as
great.
well. So,
Yeah,
I've got the bucket hats on. Yeah, why not?
perfect. I think it works. And also as well, before we talk about Harry Maguire, Marcel and myself actually met in person for the first time last weekend. That's real.
Yeah.
And Marcel, we had a great conversation. Marcel was explaining Twitter Spaces to me, which I still
Yes.
don't really understand, to be honest with you.
It's a good
We had a
community.
photo shoot as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was proper. We had a great
Mm.
time.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
was in United View HQ. It was awesome. Let's talk about Harry Maguire. Let's bring it down. Let's talk about Harry Maguire. So Harry Maguire, of course, didn't play against Arsenal at the weekend, was on the bench after last week's events. But it looks like Maguire might not be playing any games for Manchester United for the remainder of the season. Now, Ralph Rangnick said in his press conference earlier today that Maguire had a knee injury and it was nothing too serious. But then Chris Wheeler from the Daily Mail reported that Harry Maguire's knee injury could actually sideline him for several weeks. Now, being that we're nearly at the end of the season, several weeks means he could be out for the remaining 4 games of the season. First of all, Marcel, is it a blow? Is that a blow to Manchester United that Maguire's not available?
No, not at all. We've been waiting for Eric Bailly to get minutes for how long now? So we've been waiting for Eric Bailly to play for us for how long? And Maguire's been getting the go ahead of him and not really been performing. So I don't think it's a huge blow. His in the press conferences poor. Leadership's been poor. Every single game's been poor. So not a massive blow. I mean, and these players have bottled it under his captaincy. So not a huge blow.
It's an interesting one, isn't it, Maguire? Because and I'm with you that him not playing, I don't look at it and go, we're gonna be less than with him not playing. But it is curious, isn't it, that he didn't play at the weekend against Arsenal and we didn't defend any better or worse. We were exactly the same. Like we still defended poorly, we still made mistakes at the back. Why do you think that is?
Quality of players in our team is not brilliant. So, and just the shape wasn't well. The players have given up, to be honest with you. In big games, Bruno doesn't turn up, so he's making it difficult for the defense. And when you don't have two, fantastic CDMs, there's always a lot of pressure then automatically on your centre backs. And we haven't been able to get that right this season. That work in the midfield area. So there's always gonna be pressure from the centre backs. Varane just come back from injury, so that didn't help us at all. And yeah, and the wing backs, a lot of trouble coming from the wing backs in that particular game as well. I just feel like the club's in tatters, and I don't know why we haven't put Eric Bailly in that side for that game. I don't know why we didn't see him if he didn't feature.
It is an interesting one by when he wasn't, because he's been saying on Instagram as well, put me in, play me with Varane, which has been an interesting one. Because the thing is with Maguire, it is like, because we still defended badly against Arsenal and he didn't play. And some people go, well, maybe Maguire's getting too much criticism. But then it's like, well, no, because if you do look back on that Liverpool game, 3 out of the 4 goals you can point at fault to Harry Maguire. There's just objectively, there are issues there. Now, this is quite the interesting thing when it comes to all of this with Maguire. And I'm not a big conspiracy guy. You know me. When KG goes off on his vibe theories and all that, that's not for me. I'm always like, where are the facts involved? What's going on with all
Exactly.
this?
Yeah.
But I wouldn't want to wish injury on anyone, of course. But if Maguire is out for the remainder of the season with this knee injury, is that kind of a situation where it's like, well, this is best for all parties involved here? Maguire doesn't play. United don't have him in the squad. Is that kind of the best situation for everyone, do you think?
For Maguire, yes. I think, he does need a consistent period out of the team. And if he's injured anyway, we might need him for England. He plays well for England, if I'm honest. So you're going to need him for England and to rest his knee. And I hope he comes back. And hopefully it's a chance for him to come back pre-season and all those kind of things and be a better player. Because I don't think Ten Hag gets rid of him. But in terms of Man United and the first 11 that we're going to play against Chelsea, Eric Bailly comes in, hopefully, or Lindelof or Varane if he's fully fit.
Because he hasn't at this point, has he? He just hasn't. Like, I would have thought there would have been a point where he would have. And sometimes he hasn't even been on the bench. We've done two keepers instead. So I wouldn't be shocked if we got Lindelof and Varane again, even though they didn't really fill us with optimism coming out of the game of the weekend.
Yeah, I agree with that. But so then, in terms of for both parties, like you're saying, Owen, I definitely agree with you. I think, in terms of the squad, what it does for that 11, having somebody that just hasn't been a leader, and I guess we get to see Bruno as captain again for that game potentially. For me, that's something that I'm an advocate of, to be honest with you. So yeah, I think it's for all parties, it's a positive.
Kai Fraser says, Marcel, can you do a Flex impression? I don't know if you've seen this, Marcel. Flex does quite a good you. He does quite a good impression of you. I don't know if you've seen this.
No, I haven't. No, I haven't.
You haven't seen the impression? I
haven't seen the impression, but I heard KG giving rumors about it, and apparently it's disrespectful or whatever. I don't know what's going on here. I mean,
it's good.
I'm getting onto these guys.
I've tried to do it, and I'm not very good at it, so I wouldn't even try to. I'm not an impressions guy, but Flex one it's not bad. It's not bad. So next time he does it, maybe you go back. Yeah,
I'm gonna look for the impression that Flex has done, and then I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna work on my Flex impression. I'm gonna give it to you next time, 100%.
100%. I think KG does a good Flex impression. Essentially, the Flex impression is you just get really close to your microphone like that, and you be very serious. That's what you do. It's just sometimes it's difficult. There are both sides are at fault, and that's the situation. You play it very diplomatic.
On the
very
fence,
soft voice. Yes, yes. And I would never do that, so that's fine. But with Maguire, and this is where the conspiracy stuff kind of comes into it. Maybe it is an injury, maybe, but it's also a case of you know what. Considering everything that's going on with him at the moment and with what happened with him last week, which was just horrible and ridiculous and way too far over the boundaries. And to me, they're not even football fans that are doing that kind of thing. They're just crazy people.
Agreed.
But also, it could be a situation where it's like, you know what? The scrutiny is just so severe at the moment when it comes to Harry Maguire, and everything he does is criticized, and and he's not playing well. Maybe it's just the case of them just saying, actually, you know what? We'll say you're injured, mate, and we'll just there's nothing to play for this season. We're not looking for anything. It's probably best if you just don't play. Then again, that might be a bit of a stretch because I'm sure the United will say, no, he's injured. He's got a knee injury, but it's not out of the realm of possibility that they just say, actually, you know what, Harry, just don't play for the rest of the season, considering what's going on.
I think you got to save him, man. You've got to save him. Owen. He's not been playing well at all. And what happened the other week is ridiculous, and I definitely agree with your sentiment on that, and that's disgusting. But just the way he's been playing all season, it's not excusable. There's no excuse for this. It's been every single game almost. He's only had maybe a decent half at Leeds, a decent half at West Ham, and that is about it. That's all I can really think of in terms of performances. And look at the level of quality of those two teams against the big teams. He's not played well, so. It's been shocking, and that's from everyone. That's across the board as well. You can't just dig him out, and I feel like a lot of people are doing that a lot of the time, but it's because it's been every single game.
Yeah, and every time we concede a goal, you can trace it back. You
Yeah,
can absolutely
exactly
go,
that.
well, Harry Maguire, there was something involved that you did there where you could have done better.
And then his presser or his interview before I think it was before the Liverpool game after we
Yeah,
get trashed. It's just that just doesn't help you. It just doesn't help you at all. Like, people are
I
looking at
couldn't
you like,
agree.
what are you talking about? The ego of the
Mm.
man to even go there, it's just unbelievable. So I just hope that we see the end of him. But Ten Hag has such specific kind of roles and things that he wants a player in the back line to do. If Maguire's does them well and does them, we see him for maybe another season or two. So I guess you give him the benefit of the doubt for next season, but for this season, he's got to go. We can't see him anymore.
Nate H with the super chat, appreciate the contribution, says people need to stop making excuses for Maguire. He doesn't get near what other players get. International football isn't the same as club ball. Well, I appreciate the contribution, Nate. I would say that he does get a lot of scrutiny, and that comes with the territory. Obviously, that comes with being an £80 million player. That comes from being Manchester United captain. That comes from not being good enough in those positions as well. And I don't, frankly, think it's a competition of anyone. I get more abuse than you do or anything like that. It shouldn't be like that.
Yeah,
But that was going to be my next point anyway, Marcel, to be honest, was that you'll get these people so Maguire's not going to play for the rest of the season, maybe. They'll say, why are the club protecting Maguire? Why are people protecting Harry Maguire? And my response to that would be that even if you don't like the man or you don't think he's good enough and he shouldn't be Manchester United captain or whatever, isn't it in the club's best interest to protect your players, especially when what has happened over the last 7 days? Isn't it in the club's best interest? Like we say with Marcus Rashford, right? It's a slightly different situation, but we say with Marcus Rashford, he shouldn't play for the rest of the season to almost protect him from himself. Because every time he steps on a pitch, it doesn't go right. And it just gets worse and worse and worse. Isn't it in the club's best interest to go, actually, you know what? Let's protect our players here.
and in the context of the season or the leaks or everything, just everything together. At the end of the day, he's a Man United player. If he plays, I want him to give 10 out of 10, 7 out of 10s, 8 out of 10s every single week. Do you know what I mean? All of the players, to be honest with you, I'm a fan of the club. I want every single player that plays for the club and is part of the starting 11 to do well. It's just they're not giving us anything. And as fans, that's what you want to see. So it's like, but I understand the whole thing about, at the end of the day, he's part of the club. So you've got to protect the player at the side to a degree and support the player and wish well for the player. But when they're not performing, how long do we start looking silly, being overtly positive then about a player that's just not doing anything well? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And I think there is a difference. And I think that's a good discussion point, is that there is a difference from the club saying, looking at a player like Maguire, or looking at a player like Rashford going, you're not playing well. There's nothing to play for. Every time you step on a pitch or you play, you just get absolutely scrutinized because you're not playing well and it's not good enough. You know what? Maybe you don't play. That's different to, I think, making excuses for them or trying
Yeah.
to bail them out of not playing well or anything like that. Because when you say stuff like that, you get the response of, why are you making excuses from? They're not good enough. I don't want Harry Maguire to be Manchester United captain. I don't think he should probably be a Man United player. There's massive questions whether he's good enough. He's not. He's not good enough. But at the same time, I don't see the value of pushing a player out onto the pitch when you know he's playing bad, when you know there's so much scrutiny around him. That's not a good management decision, from my perspective.
Agree. But how about we look at it like this? Is Ralph doing the right thing in terms of continuously playing these poor players to show, the board, the structure, the fans, everyone, that these players are not good enough? He's continuously doing it. And then there's no excuse now. Because if we start playing the kids, by the way, I think we should play the kids, but just in terms of playing devil's advocate, if we play the kids, is that like an excuse? Like, we didn't finish our best possible position because we didn't play our best players, for the last maybe 6-7 games? Because we've been calling for him to leave the side maybe a couple months ago. But it's like, I don't know. I think maybe it's a thing where, Ralph is continuously playing these players to say, look, they're not good enough, and I will continuously show you guys that they're not good enough.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. Also, I think that, like you said, you can't. I think almost the point is that you can't almost win, can you? Really, when you think about it, because if you continue playing them, the question is, why are you continuing playing them? If you don't play them and say they're not playing well, I'm going to take them out and just leave them out, and however you dress it up, people go, oh, why are you protecting them?
Yeah.
And so, well, there's you can neither win, I suppose. Nate H says Maguire isn't a good footballer. Don't want him. Nate H is not a Maguire fan. David Lee, big up David Lee. Big up all the mods with the super sticker. Appreciate the contribution, David Lee. Keegan says, nah. Oh, he gets criticism not because of his price, it's because of what he produces on the field. Other players are bad, but not Maguire bad. Nearly all the goals conceded are linked to him. Appreciate the contribution, Keegan, as always. Like I said, the scrutiny comes from everything for Harry Maguire, whether it's the captaincy. You can't argue. You can't say the price tag isn't involved because when people are angry at him, they always reference the price tag. They never don't reference it. They always do. They go, "That's never an £80 million player," because it's not. Absolutely, he gets scrutinized because he's not good enough. It's all of the above. And like you said, Marcel, then he doesn't help himself because he will do an interview like before Liverpool, and you go, "What is he talking about?" He did one, I think it was either before Liverpool, the home game, or Man City early on in the season, where he said, "I don't look at stats, I look at performances," or both are shit.
And he even mentioned the price in that game as well. And Keegan, the reason why I think the price is in it is because we could have got Koulibaly for cheaper. People were saying, "Oh, well, we could have got different alternatives," or we were even looking at different alternatives for cheaper. So it's like people mentioned the price. Like, why did we spend this money? Why did we make this business decision and allocate it to this player when we could have got a different player, better caliber, more of a leader, and all that kind of thing for less or around the same price? Like, where was that valuation? So I feel like the money is an important thing, and even Maguire mentioned it. He mentioned it himself, the price. So maybe he's thinking about it as well.
Yeah, and also I think with most transfers, like with Jack Grealish, right? He didn't play in the Champions League last night. Whenever he doesn't play or he's not playing well for Man City, they'll always reference that they cost Man City 100 million. That will just because that's football. I mean, that's how it works, right?
Yeah. And he's rubbish. For 100 mil. He's performed like this season. Rubbish.
I remember Graham Souness at the beginning of the season, when Pogba got, was it like 3 assists against Leeds? And then he said afterwards, that's what a £100 million player should be doing. Grealish had. Nor was Pogba, in fairness, but that's just okay. But do we also need to realize when it comes to Maguire, because I think we almost have to ease our expectations a little bit. Could he be the Manchester United captain next season? For me, that is a definite 50-50. I could absolutely see Eric Ten Hag going, you know what, we're going in a different direction. I could also see nothing changing as well. But do we always have to manage expectations as to he's most likely going to be a Man United player next season? We can't, that's whether you like it or not, that is the situation here.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, quite simply because of the price. That's a lot of money that the club's invested into a player that they thought, can this manager now coach this player into a specific style that he wants? So, and when you get a new manager coming in, he wants to evaluate all the players that are there. And I think Maguire's still got a lengthy contract to stay or to complete. So I don't know. It's an interesting point, but I think the fans, every single fan that I speak to at the ground, online, wherever, they want Maguire gone. But I think the club most probably supporting him staying, and I did that he's a person as well and all those kind of things. So if the people that, are making the decisions want him to stay and they feel like they can get something out of him, then I would support him next season. This season, I just can't support him at all.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think the captaincy thing, I think that's a very real possibility. And I think that would be an easy win for Eric Ten Hag. I think if he makes a statement of it's going to be this person, you go, right, stamps your authority on the squad, shows you mean business, show you go in a different direction. That's one thing. But I just don't know if I could see them be like, oh, yeah, and we're selling Maguire at the same time. Unless, he took being removed from captain really badly and was like, I'm out of here. And then maybe they would go in that direction. But I just don't see him leaving, to be honest.
No, I agree. He needs to leave the captaincy, though. That's a great, he has to leave the captaincy of it. If he is captain again next season, wow, no, he has to leave that position. There's no way he can be captain.
Keegan with the super chat once again says, easing expectation means we accept subpar results. Referring to super chat from earlier, I guess, as well. I mean, I wouldn't say anyone's eased. Well, maybe the club has eased expectations. Certainly, that's why we've got into the position that we have. But at the same time, you also have to be realistic as well. In the same way that just because we're Man United, we can't think, oh, we're going to win the league next season, because we're not. It's just not going to happen.
Exactly. That's never going to happen. I don't know what the expectations will be next season, I'm assuming maybe top 4, to be honest with you, Owen, just to get into the
Within the
top 4.
club, yeah, it's always been for the club, isn't it? But even they might have changed it at this point. Of just like, you know what, even if you don't get top 4, because usually that's the deal breaker for a manager, isn't it? We don't get
Yeah,
top 4,
yeah,
manager goes. But I don't think I really do think that if Ten Hag got like 5th or 6th next season, but there was a bit of a playing style, he'd stay on. I
yeah.
really think that because I think the expectation has changed.
Yeah, exactly. I think it has as well. But in terms of what would a subpar result be for the club though next season, really and truly? I mean, we are in tatters, man. We are nowhere near the top 2 every single season. Even when we had something of a system or we were trying to build something, we weren't particularly close. I think that second place is not really it's a false second place in my opinion. You know, the Liverpool that was there was around at the time, lots of injuries throughout that season. Chelsea had Lampard. Lampard was no good. It was Tuchel that was the guy that wins them the Champions League and gives them a structure, and the players come. They took to him way better than the Lampard system. So I don't know what a subpar result would be for us next. Okay, top 4 is the benchmark, and that's a good benchmark. But even just competing in Europe again or qualifying for Europe next season and having a clear structure and a system, I think that's way more important than ascertaining the top 4. Even though I think as a United fan, I think we should keep that expectation high. So it's a good point.
We got over 600 people, nearly 700 people watching. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. And as well, this was why I placed this little bit right here, is Marcel's Twitter is in the description box below. We're going to get him to, I don't know how many followers he's on. He's like 300 and something, I think.
Yeah, 300
So
or so.
if everyone that's watching now goes into the description box, they can click on Marcel's Twitter. They can go follow him. He's far more active than I am. He's way more active than I am.
Yeah,
Goes in Twitter Spaces and all that kind of stuff.
yeah,
Whereas I
yeah.
might do an occasional tweet. So if you haven't already, be sure to follow Marcel in the description box below.
Appreciate you guys, man. Appreciate it.
Let's talk about injuries. Let's talk about injuries at Manchester United because, of course, tomorrow at Old Trafford, we have Chelsea, and there are a lot of people missing from the game tomorrow. Of course, Harry Maguire spoke about that with a knee injury. Jadon Sancho is out with tonsillitis. Now, I was explaining to Marcel what tonsillitis is.
Yeah.
before we started, because I've seen a lot of people going, tonsillitis. Tonsillitis. I used to get it like 3 or 4 times a year. It was brutal. I was like this close to getting my tonsils out. It's horrible. But Sancho's not playing. He's ill. Pogba, we know his situation with the injury. He's probably not going to play for United again. Fred is on the road back. He spoke with Ralph Rangnick. Ralph Rangnick said in the press conference earlier today that he did have a conversation with Fred, and Fred basically said, look, I'm not 100%. And given the way that Fred plays, he was like, I would prefer him to be at 100% considering his playing style. Edison Cavani, of course, is still out too. Ralph Rangnick confirmed that he will be back training on Friday. So we might get a couple of Cavani appearances before he wraps it up at Manchester United. Who knows? Luke Shaw is also unavailable as he continues recovery from getting his screws out of his legs as well. Yeah. And Aaron Wan-Bissaka is touch and go as to whether he will be available as well tomorrow. So we've got a huge amount of players out. Marcel, why have we got so many injuries? Well, Ralph's complained about this several times, saying we play once a week, and yet we've got some of the most injuries in the league. Why?
Let's go with the change of system. You know, they've been asked to press high. Last season, they didn't really do that much. You know, a lot of running around and chasing the ball, pressing. It's not really their style, but they just don't care. You know, tonsillitis for me, I know Sancho's a younger player or whatever, but that's not a real injury for me. See people playing Sunday league.
It's brutal. We were talking about this before. It's horrible.
Yeah, I know. I know you did explain it to me, but still, I've seen people play. I don't know the injury particularly, but I just don't think it's you play with your feet, man. You should be able to play that game, and with his head, it's nothing to do with his tonsils. So what's going on?
You're struggling to your throat's all swollen up. You have to get antibiotics. Come on.
And then what about Pogba's injury? He didn't even try it. Pogba didn't even try. And then who else is it? Sure, okay, he has a serious injury, yes. And Wan-Bissaka hasn't been playing for a little while. He had a little spell out of the team, so I don't know why he hasn't been conditioning and looking after his body. You know, I just feel like it's just a lot of them are faking it. They're not enough. It's just not good enough. It's not good enough. And that means what? How many players in the squad then? What, 16 man, 14 man to select from in terms of first team pros? Maybe 14, 13 first team pros to select from. That's ridiculous, to be honest with you. That just shows the state of the club. But he should be playing the kids then. Put some young, hungry players in there instead of these that just don't want to play or that are too old to play. some of them just can't last the 90 minutes. Put a younger player that's hungry, that wants to fight. But
well, he did say about playing the youngsters there. He was asked about this, Ranić, and he said, it's possible. We have quite a few players missing tomorrow and one or two of question marks. We'll have to wait and see tomorrow to see if Wan-Bissaka can be available. But then he also said, we have to be fair enough, though, to those players, the young players. It has to be the right moment. They should have a chance to play well and to perform well. It's not just pushing them into a game. It should also be the right moment. Right now, it seems like we have 14 in our professional team without the youngsters that are going to be available, and probably 3 or 4 of those young players will be part of the squad. Now, I find that quite interesting that he said that, because when he says, it has to be the right moment, it's not about pushing them into the game, that's essentially what he actually did with Hannibal at Liverpool, is that he pushed him into a game in which it was like, we're 3-0 down at Anfield. Don't put him into that game. And what happened?
I don't get it, man. I don't get it. But like I said, I think it's maybe to do with the thing that he just wants to really show everyone that, listen, guys, I'm going upstairs. I'm about to, give some suggestions. Listen to my suggestions, because clearly, as you can see, these are no good. So he just wants to keep playing these absolutely incompetent players. But I've been calling for Hannibal to play for ages. He even looked good in preseason, and we were poor in preseason. We were losing a lot of games under Oli in the preseason this season. So he looked all right. So I don't know. I don't know. It's for maybe the next manager to look at, and he's an advocate of playing young players that can, adaptable, playing different systems or look good. So it's an opportunity there. But that's the ethos of our club. The last few games, we want to see some of the young players coming up. So I'm hoping that at some stage, maybe not against Chelsea, it's a big game. It's still a little bit of bragging rights in there. So hopefully against maybe Crystal Palace, Brighton, maybe.
Possibly. By the way, guys, I did that whole spiel about go follow Marcel on Twitter, and the link actually was not in the description box. It is now. It is now. But we've got more people watching now. So if you haven't, we've got over 700 people watching now. So if you haven't, go and follow Marcel on Twitter. The link is officially confirmed in the description box. So let's see if we can get those numbers up. He's on like 300 and something. We can get more than that. If everyone follows in, that'll be 1,000.
That's 1,000. Wow. Yeah.
Happy maths. But yeah, when it comes to playing the youngsters, look, I'm with you, and I think every United fan probably is, where it's like, yes, we want to see those youngsters playing. We want to see people that just care, they care. And that was the thing with Hannibal, is that, you could say about bringing him on in that situation, and it wasn't the right situation to bring him on in Anfield, 3-0 down. It was just not the right spot. But everyone was sort of happy with his performance because he was just getting involved. He was just getting involved and kicking people, and that's what we wanted.
That's the positive, man. That is the massive positive. His attitude and his application, and we see him warming up every week as well. Anyway, he wants to get on this pitch and play for us. But again, I don't know. Ralph maybe needs a bit more time to feel that kind of situation there. That players, the younger players want to get on the pitch. Even Garnacho at Arsenal at Emirates, warmed up, could have been called upon potentially. Rashford didn't do anything. So, try one of the youngsters, man. Let them get some minutes. Let them get a feel for the game.
Yeah, exactly. Especially when there's nothing to play for. It's not even like before, when there was this like really remote chance that we were still in the, we were going to get to the Champions League or whatever. You could have still then maybe said, wow, there is still something to play for. And if we don't get, if people drop points, but we drop points because we were playing the youngsters and we look like fools and all that kind of stuff. But at this point now, there is nothing to play for. There is nothing.
See, this is the bit where I feel like you're drawing me out a little bit, because potentially, is it done?
Nah, come on, Marcel. Let's not go there. Seriously, do you think there's any possibility?
No.
If you're going to start giving me mathematically, that kind of stuff.
I forgot. I've dashed away all the working outs, all my hard work, calculating potential arrivals into that top 4 position. It's not going to happen. Obviously, it's done 100%. I'm only joking there, but I don't know, man. It would be nice to get a win against Chelsea. It would be nice to get a win against Chelsea, man. It would be nice, but we just don't care, and I've really seen that, and it's taken me so long to really take that in. But it's just clear to see. So it's definitely done.
You say it would be nice to get a win against Chelsea, though. We have lost 3 out of our last 4. Now, it's not good form. at all. And I know even Chelsea at this point aren't playing particularly great.
Yeah, they're
Not
not.
like they
Yeah,
were
they're
at the beginning of the season. I mean, I thought Arsenal were just way better than them at Stamford Bridge when they played them a couple of weeks ago or whenever it was last week. But just United at the moment, I just look at games and honestly, Marcel, I'm like, I just don't know where that win comes from. I
yeah,
really don't
yeah.
because I see nothing. And I guess maybe if I was trying to do my best Marcel impression and I was saying, how can I be the optimist here? You could maybe say, well, against Arsenal at the Emirates, we did play well in maybe
Well,
5-minute periods, 10-minute periods at points. But also, I would say Arsenal were not very good and we
yeah, yeah,
still lost 3-1.
yeah. But
So,
Ronaldo, the resurgence of Ronaldo, that was one of Ronaldo's better performances, and especially under the circumstances that he was going through. Still amongst the goals. Scott McTominay was okay. It was good to see him back playing. I would put him in there. Bruno wasn't brilliant at all, but pressing well in
was it
periods.
brilliant?
Yeah,
Man, he was well off it.
shocking. Yeah, he was shocking. He was shocking. Okay, he was shocking, but he was pressing. I want to see Ronaldo play again. I think he played well today. Against in the Emirates. I think he was the one that really caught my eye in terms of a good forward performance. And if he can give that again, we're definitely going to score at least, and that's another positive. That's as best as I can do.
Yeah, but even so, like, do you think we go through that game tomorrow and we keep a clean sheet?
No, 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 not with the wing backs and Tuchel's so heavy on that. Attacking from the wide areas and keeping the pitch so wide and stretched. So a lot of problems. And if Ralph doesn't have a plan for that, then yeah, we're definitely not keeping a clean sheet.
No, I agree. I just like I said, and it's not being because sometimes I do think like that way of going. There's no chance, but like we're going to lose, and then you do go, oh man, am I being really negative or am I being very defeatist? But I really don't think so. Like I really don't. Like you can only judge what you have seen this season, and especially what you've seen in recent weeks, and there's not been that much, if
Yeah,
anything.
yeah. No. We're lost. We're a lost team. We're lost. We are all lost. There's no way that we can achieve top four next season playing like this. There's no way we can enter next season with at least 5 or 6 of these players. They're down tools every single game. Ralph wanted to play the 4-2-2, Owen, and he couldn't play that because none of them they gave up on him and his system. They disrespected him and his system. Half this we don't know the structure in terms of the coaching staff. Ralph didn't know what was going on with the coaching staff. Leaks were coming out from somebody. We're still trying to find out which footballer that was in our team, trying to tarnish the badge and the team. It's
Well, I
crazy
think
right
that's
now.
hilarious. I think the situation with United or whatever, they're going, who's the leak? All this kind of stuff. It's like trying to find the leak on the Titanic. There are multiple points here, guys. It's not like one point. It's not like, oh, that's the one bit that's sinking the Titanic. Yeah, just plug that one. Put your finger in that bit. No. It's like, it's from everywhere. It's
Yeah,
everywhere.
yeah.
All that kind of stuff. Faz is in the chat. Big up Faz says, Owen, come on, clean sheet. We'll concede in 5 minutes. Look, I'm telling you, I was saying to people before the Arsenal game, 5 minutes, and it was 2. So who knows? 30 seconds.
That was horrible. I just literally got to sit in my seat and the goals conceded.
Yeah.
It was disgusting. It was disgraceful. It was disgusting.
It really was.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Champions League, though, as well, and since you brought it up, Ranić was asked in the press conference if there was any chance. Is there any chance, Man United? Are you still looking to qualify for the Champions League? He said, quote, I don't even think that makes sense now to still speak and speculate about the Champions League. We need to be realistic. Even if we win all 4 games, it's not in our hands. What is in our hands is how we play, our level of performance. It's important for the season to finish on the best possible note. So basically, Ralph's saying, why are we even talking about it? Right? Why are we even talking about it?
Yeah. Quick question then. Do you think it's his fault? Because many a time it was in our hands under his tenure. Do you think he has a little bit of responsibility or accountability, like you was talking about before, in terms of, setting up the team and making sure that we win games?
I think ultimately, if you're the manager, the buck does stop with you, right? And and he will think that he was brought in to secure us top 4, and that didn't happen. I think also you have to look at things in context and say how possible actually was it? Even though people will talk about numbers and say, oh, when he came in, United was it like 4 points, 6 points off or something like that. But on the flip side, I just don't even know if it was possible this season, right? I don't know if it was possible with a group of players. Like you said, they made their mind up after 2 weeks that they weren't fancying Ralph. And essentially by doing that, they made their mind up they didn't want Champions League after 2 weeks as well. Because you can't have a team that just doesn't listen to the manager and does what they want and expect to have any form of success, because football just does not work like that.
No, good point.
Super chat from WJ Barrett says Eric Ten Hag will relieve him of the captaincy and will start him next season, referring to Harry Maguire. Clean slate for everyone. He will be able to drop easier with no armband. I think that's probably a likely scenario there when it comes to Harry Maguire and the captaincy. I think also, again, I think people have to be realistic that Maguire is going to be there. I think also, look, there's a real possibility that Maguire is the captain next season. Like that, we have to almost prepare ourselves for that reality. And just how divisive is that going to be? Is if he gets asked in that first press conference, who's your captain? And he goes, at the moment, it's Harry Maguire. What reaction does that look like?
Huge. And he's adding huge pressure to himself. I mean, just his job alone right now is getting fullbacks to play, adding centre midfielders and getting them to play in the system. We need a right winger. We're not sure with the striker situation. And if he doesn't get replacements for these, he has to get them to play. He has to get Delo to be better defensively. He has to get Wan-Bissaka to be better offensively. What condition is Luke Shaw going to be in? And is he going to play any of the youth players this season? Like, he's got so much work to do. And now you're adding the pressure of an incompetent Maguire. And you've got to get De Gea to play football as well from the back and pass the ball correctly. There's just a lot of work to do. The unnecessary headache he's going to bring to himself if he keeps Maguire as captain.
Let's talk about transfers. Let's talk about some people we've been linked to. Start off talking about Calvin Phillips. So this came from The Athletic, Laurie Whitwell and Phil Hay, who is the Leeds correspondent for The Athletic as well, saying that Manchester United have begun exploring via intermediaries the prospect of a transfer worth £50 million for Calvin Phillips, although there has been no direct contact between United and Leeds, and none with Phillips either. Calvin Phillips for 50 million. Would you take that, Marcel?
Yes, please. Yes. Good English player, pivot, and he's in a Bielsa system where it's just chaos. He has a man for man, so he's got good energy. We've got two already kind of energetic players in Fred and Scott, but none of them are a pivot. None of them can play that 6 and know how to build out from the back and break lines with the passing or carry the ball. Calvin Phillips has got all of that plus that energy and intensity. So then maybe, and I think going forward anyway, you got to have one or the other. You got to have either Fred or Scott. Don't think you can really have both in your team long term. We need better quality players. But for 50 mil, I think that's okay. I wouldn't definitely go the Declan Rice route. I think there's other players in the market. But, Calvin Phillips for 50 mil, usually very durable, had a few injuries this season, but, has played plenty games in the Championship where it's 3 times a week or twice a week, every single week. Yeah, definitely.
It's interesting, Calvin Phillips, because I was interested to hear your response to that one, because looking on social media, which again is not always the best gauge of response, but it's quite a divisive one. So David Lee here says, no. FM MD says, no more English players, please. Tavern says no. But then you get here, he's better than 100 million Declan Rice, in my opinion. RGO Logic says Basuma for me. So let us know what you think. Would you take Calvin Phillips for 50 million? Here's a super chat. It says, how do you both feel about spending the bulk of the money on Darwin Núñez? Honestly, I'm not keen about spending the bulk of the money on anyone this summer because we just need too many players. That's kind of my thought. What's your thought with that one, Marcel?
Agreed. Is there a player though that you could? I agree with you. But if there was one player that I would say, if you had to do it, you had to spend the bulk of money on anybody, I think it would be a central defensive midfielder, and it would have to be like a world class one. So I would maybe say someone like a Verratti or something, where you're spending maybe 180 or 150. What is the rumored number to be anyway?
I don't know. I mean, it was something we're talking about. I think talking about like 100 million euros range or something
Okay.
ridiculous like that.
Well,
Significant amount of
realistic as
money.
well then, because I know Verratti's not going anywhere. He's not going anywhere near us. So
Yeah.
if it's realistic as well, then I would say you put the whole budget maybe on a CDM like but Tukameni's not a huge player though. Oh, De Jong's a good choice actually because he knows the
I'm
system
just
already.
like I said, I just feel like if we do that for any player, regardless of how good they are, I think it's just repeating the same mistake
Yep,
over and over and over again. Big
agreed.
signing, marquee signing, big signing, marquee signing. Because if we do that, great. And I would love to get Nunes, but if we did that and then it's like, oh, we got one more player, we'd still be having this conversation this time next year of, I tell you what, Marcel, we need 5 players. Our
Yeah, yeah,
fullback's
yeah,
terrible, or our centre
yeah,
back's rubbish, and or we'd still be having the same conversations. And I just feel like there needs to be more patchwork as opposed to just fixing one problem. I think
yeah,
that's what United need to do. And like I said, the Calvin Phillips one is really interesting for me because again, it's quite a divisive one. It really is because some people are like, oh, it's just British bias. I don't want a British player. I don't, why should we be looking abroad, like you said, Chouamini, or should we be looking in Europe where maybe you can get people cheaper? Um, I mean, we're looking obviously for a defensive midfielder, clearly.
yep,
Does he fit that mold? I think he's got work rate. I think where he differs from people like Fred and McTominay is he's better on the ball,
yes,
technically.
yep.
The argument could be made, is he actually a defensive midfielder? Because I don't want to get into that situation again, like with Fred and McTominay, where you're going, are they actually, are they actually a defensive midfielder, square pegs,
Yeah,
round holes, that kind of situation? I think injuries are a concern because he's just barely played this season. Like you said, he has shown durability in the past, but
yes,
injuries this season has to be a concern. What is interesting as well is people say young up and coming player. He's actually 26, 27 in September. So he's a guy that's actually, you would say, for a guy in his position, middle of the park, energetic. The prime years are now. We're not really getting someone really on the ascendancy. If we get him, we're getting someone that they've got to hit the ground running, do they not?
yeah, definitely, definitely. And when you play for the club, when you play for Man United, and you're a signing coming in, you gotta hit the ground running anyway. So the expectation is there. But I just really have to reiterate, he's coming from the chaos that is Marcelo Bielsa. He knows about the work and determination. He goes into the back line and he picks up the ball. It all starts. Bielsa likes to start from him. So, I think he's perfect for that role in terms of the trust with the ball. But De Jong, I think, is maybe even better than that. And De Jong's maybe world class level. I would say maybe Edson
But that's
Alvarez from
money.
Ajax.
But that's
Edson
money, isn't it? When
Alvarez?
you're looking at De Jong and all that kind of stuff,
Yeah, yeah,
that's more money.
definitely. Yeah, definitely. Definitely, you're right. But I think he's good for the role. Definitely, he's a pivot. He's a pivot. He plays as the six.
Super chat here. Appreciate the contribution. Says go a little cheaper and develop, which I think maybe might be United's kind of outlook this summer because there are just so many players. Because there are
Yep.
just so many players that you're going to have to do that. I do think it's interesting with Phillips as well. A lot of people immediately rule it out and say, "Oh, that would never happen because he's a Leeds guy, Yorkshire boy. Would he be willing to cross that divide?" But I would also say that there is a lot of smoke to this fire. A lot of smoke. This is more than just a little bit of paper talk. When you got people like Laurie Whitwell from the Athletic, you've got from the United side, and then from the Leeds side as well, going, well, they haven't spoken to Phillips and they haven't spoken to Leeds. There are people kind of discussing this, and this isn't the first time it would happen. I do think there is something to it. I do. But again, Marcel, is this the profile of player that we want to be looking for? That kind of play that maybe isn't the most flash signing, but maybe could be one of the more effective ones.
Yeah. That's what we need right now. Is because the game under Ten Hag, the game is for everyone. It's going to be a game for everyone in terms of everyone has a specific role and they have to do a specific job for him in that role. So, and as long as as soon as Ten Hag wants the player, we have to get the player, to be honest with you. That's what we have to back this man. And we really have to back him because he's got a clear, distinctive style. You spoke to the Ajax guys and they mentioned that kind of thing. He has the clear, distinctive style. The players are gonna, if they're not doing it, they're gone. So I think as long as Ten Hag wants the players, I'm supporting that. But if we're just looking at Calvin Phillips' attributes, he is a pivot six. We don't have that at the club really. Ghana is an option as well, by the way. he could come in and be able to adapt to the system.
Keegan says
But
that there. Chouamini
yeah,
and Ghana.
yeah,
That
Keegan, yeah, I
possibility.
agree. Yeah, yeah, I agree. But and Kamara is an option on a free, so maybe a cheaper option, I believe. But at the
Yeah,
same
that
time,
could be on a free.
yeah, but at the same time, I think Phillips is definitely up there and somebody that the club should be looking at.
Imran with the super chat says McTominay bodied Phillips when they played versus each other. Don't know how good he really is. Again, I think it's just a really interesting one because it's by no means a unanimous. Yeah, go get him. There are a lot of people that are like, yeah, I don't know. One other name we're being linked with as well is I say being linked with. This is quite an interesting story. Is Ruben Neves from Wolves. Now, Samuel Lucas from the Manchester Evening News is saying that Wolves are considering replacements for Ruben Neves as they expect him to leave this summer. I believe he has like a year left on his contract or something like that. Now, Arsenal and Barcelona are the only clubs to have registered their concrete interest, but the players' representatives would welcome an approach from Manchester United too. So it's kind of a case of United haven't said we want to get Ruben Neves. Arsenal and Barcelona have, but they expect him to be leaving in the summer. Is this one of those situations whereby a player of his quality becomes available at probably a reduced price because he's got a year left on his deal? Why wouldn't United do that deal?
Same for Tielemans, same potentially for Kamara as well. So and he forced a world-class save out of the hair at Old Trafford when we played them. I mean, he
He
picks
can
up the
strike
ball
a
and has
ball,
to
can't he?
volley
I
out.
mean, his free kicks outside
Yeah,
some of the goals he scored in his
yeah,
career are ridiculous.
yeah. He has a goal in him from midfield, and we will need that throughout the season. I mean, I would take Neves for sure. Is his defense? Is he a good 6 for me? I think he's more of an 8. I think he's
He's a
more of an
different
8.
kind of 6, I think. He's
Yeah,
an Andrea Pirlo kind of 6,
yeah,
as
yeah.
opposed to he's the deep line playmaker as opposed to a ball winning midfielder, that kind of situation, which you could argue, look, maybe we do need. We've had situations, right, when we'll play Paul Pogba as the 6. And it's
Mm,
not a defensive kind of 6, it's a 6 of affect the play just from a deeper role. And he can't do it. And
yeah,
also, but even when you're playing in that deeper line playmaker role, you still do need to make tackles and put yourself about, which Pogba doesn't do, and Ruben Neves does. Um, he was also captain like a really young age, like 19 at Porto. I think he's
mm,
captain Wolves on several occasions as well. Even though Conor Cody's their captain, so you're getting a leader in
yes,
there as well.
yeah.
Premier League experience, which I don't really buy into, but Premier League experience.
Mm.
Why wouldn't you do that deal?
No, sold on it for sure. Questions though for you though, Owen. Plays in a 2, no, and not in a 3. And a credit to Marie to Matinho. I think he plays with Jose Matinho.
Yeah.
Yeah, a credit to him is because he's helped gives that balance when their partnership is and when to go, when to come back. I think I'm not sure if he still plays in a 2 now. He might play in a 3 now, but he has played in a 2 for long periods there, and also just the tackling ability as well. Don't we want? We under Ten Hag, we're most probably going to play 2 8s to be able to, so then we really need a strong 6.
He seems to me, he seems the kind of player that Ten Hag would be looking for. Like very technical, very, very technical, can keep possession. When Wolves played us at Old Trafford, mate, it was embarrassing
Yeah,
because they
yeah,
kept the ball and passed it around way better than we did. Matinho and Neves absolutely took the piss out of
yes,
us at
they
Old
did.
Trafford. It was a joke. So he is a kind of player that I think would be what we're looking for from an Arsenal Barcelona perspective. You can absolutely see why they'd be interested because you could see him playing for either side. Again, very technical sides, right? Arteta and also Xavi.
Yeah,
So, and maybe that might be the difference. Maybe the difference is involved in all of that is two of those clubs are going to have Champions League football next season, and we're
yeah,
not.
and we're not. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I would prefer a ball winner 6, but you got to look at him. Adds goals to his game. He's got a lot of ability, and even the free kicks as well, and the quality from corners or set pieces, something that we just don't have, man.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, Ruben Neves. To be honest, though, like I said, I would not be shocked if he ends up at Arsenal, Barcelona, and it's just one of those people again where we go, why didn't we go after that person?
Yeah,
Why were we not interested? Because, and also as well, and you look at, I know these are different players, but you look at someone like Jota from Wolves. There are players at those kind of level clubs in the Premier League that are absolutely ready to make that step up. And they can adapt to those big clubs. I'm surprised he's even got to this point in his career where they're like, actually, maybe he goes to like a bigger club, like a
yeah,
Barcelona or whatever. Because I was surprised when he went to Wolves in the first place. He joined them when they were in the Championship and he was captain of Porto.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, true,
which is
true,
wild.
true. And even and there's a few players at Wolves, you know, Neto, the right winger,
Yeah.
Podence. You know, there's players at that kind of level that just even the for the Newcastle, the player from Newcastle, the French player from Newcastle.
Saint-Maximin, yeah.
So Maximan, world class. I feel like he could be world class and definitely add to our team. So yeah,
Yeah, they're not selling though, Newcastle. You kidding
yeah.
me? What kind of money is that looking at? KG's in the free seats as well, which is always interesting to see. He says, I believe Maguire is fine, Owen. Yes. Well, I did say earlier on that, KG would have a vibes explanation for all of this and have a theory, a conspiracy theory that would be going on. And to be honest, KG, I don't think you're a million miles off it. I really don't. I think it's a very realistic possibility of everything that's going on with Maguire that they said, look, you be injured for the rest of the season. 4 games, I
We'll
think
have
it's
to see.
very
We'll have to
realistic.
see.
Yeah, and also, again, KG was sticking up for you when you were about the flex impression as well.
No,
So,
I appreciate
there
it.
you
No,
go.
but he said it's disrespectful or something. No, I don't know what he's saying.
I don't think it's disrespectful. I think it's very good. I think as impressions go, it's pretty on it. You got to go and see it. You got to.
He has
As
to
we
stick
wrap
up for
things
me
up.
anyway. He has to stick up for me anyway.
Yeah, well, exactly.
Apparently, I'm the same height as his dad. He said I'm the same height as his dad.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's okay.
I didn't realize that as well when I met you at the weekend as well. Like, I was like, I could pick Marcel up if I wanted to, and carry him around like a baby. Like that would be a real thing. Like, yeah, that was strange. And I was seeing that in all the comments as well. People going about, oh, Owen's tall. So what do you expect?
Well, no, but on the studio, in terms of the studio, you look massive, man. What the hell? You look like a rugby player or something, man. What the was? Jeez. And then
It's good
on in the
post.
screen, you just got you don't even see your whole face, your whole shoulders on that end. You just on the hoodies. He's in a shirt this time.
That's what I mean. It's always, I'm always looking for surprises.
Mm.
As we wrap things up, let's talk about the game briefly tomorrow. We don't do full-on predictions as always here, but how are you feeling? I think earlier you said draw, didn't you? That's you
Draw.
being Mr. Optimist.
Yeah, draw. I'll push it as far as maybe a 1-0, but I don't see us, keeping a clean sheet at Old Trafford. So I'll go for a 2-2 draw. I want to see Ronaldo score again. We're gonna concede. I just hope that the fans we at the Emirates, the Arsenal fans right now, they're building momentum and they're chasing for something, but they're all in unison there in terms of the fan base. It was really loud. We need to be like that at Old Trafford, man. We need to get that. That comes from the performances. But a 2-2 scrappy game. He's only got 14 players to select from, and even some of those are leaving. So 2-2,
Yeah.
hopefully. Yeah, 2-2.
It's
hopefully.
true, and it was a good point. It was a good point made before the Liverpool game when you had like a midfield of like Pogba and Matic, and it's sort of saying it's one of your biggest rival games and all this kind of stuff, and you got 2 guys that aren't going to be there in a couple of weeks.
Yeah,
like that's tough. That's tough, and for players that you could argue maybe don't care that much anyway, they really don't care now that there's definitely nothing to play for, and they know they're not going to be there, and that sort of led to having a situation where it is 3 defeats out of 4.
I mean, it was a draw, I think, at Stamford Bridge when we played them.
It was one of Carrick's games, wasn't it? Yeah, it was. The Jadon Sancho went 1-0 up, and they got the penalty, didn't they?
Yeah.
It was one of those sort of. It was one of Carrick's. I tell you, look, the Michael Carrick thing. You got to give him credit because first 3 games, away at Villarreal 1, Arsenal Old Trafford 1-3-2.
Yeah.
Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, and that's when Chelsea were like in the conversation for the title as well.
For the title,
there was still a 3-horse race at that point.
Drops Ronaldo.
We went there. Yep, drops Ronaldo.
Yeah,
and gets a point. It makes you wonder, doesn't
it? I'm not that optimistic.
I just said it makes you wonder.
For sure. I mean, he's done well. He done well for the little tenure that he had, for sure.
Best unbeaten as Manchester United manager. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. What do you think? What do you think for Chelsea, for the Chelsea game?
I don't do predictions because I'll jinx it. So much so that like when I did do a prediction, it happened at the weekend when I was saying like we're going to concede in 5 minutes. I was so pissed with that because I was like, I told you it was going to happen. Man,
Tuchel's really organized.
Win.
Yeah, he's really organized.
If I said I thought we were going to win, I'd be lying. I don't see us getting out of that game without a loss. I really do, and I hate being one of those people that predicts their team to lose, because you always back your team and you always say, we could get like a win or all that kind of stuff. But I just don't see it, Marcel. I really don't, and that's what I've said on all of these like full-time views after the games recently, whether it's against Liverpool, whether it's against Arsenal, is I was saying to you before, wasn't it, after the Liverpool game, like, are you surprised? Because I'm not.
Yeah, no.
I'm not surprised. When we do concede after 5 minutes against Liverpool and Arsenal, was I surprised? No. Am I surprised when we lose the game? No, because that's just like that's what we do.
Where we are right now.
Exactly, that's us. And even when we were so called trying, we weren't really winning games, let alone when we stopped. So I think the only reason it could maybe be a draw is that you've got two sides there that have nothing to play for. Absolutely nothing to play for. And it could be a bit like a preseason friendly where it's just a bit like, who cares? Chelsea are thinking about the cup final. That's their priority. They know top four's in the bag for them. Third spot's theirs. So they might just be thinking, we'll just get to the cup final. Don't matter about that. And Man United, look, I know Ralph said he got to pick the right game or whatever. Why isn't it the right game to put the youngsters in?
Yeah, exactly. That's a good point.
What is there ever going to be, if anything, a better game than when you've got so many people out of injury that you might as well do it? That's how youngsters basically get in most of the times, right? Is you have people that are injured and they just happen to have an opportunity, Marcus Rashford or whatever.
Yeah,
Alanga. Alanga was the same thing. That happens to people who are injured, and you know what? Let's just put them on. Let's play them. And why can't that happen? Who knows? We might actually unearth one of these youth players are actually quite good. Yeah. And then suddenly it feels like we've got a new signing because someone actually plays well against Chelsea. So why not? Why not? But to answer your question long-windedly there, I think we'll lose.
Oh, man. Come on, man. 2-2. You don't think we'll hold at least a draw?
No. Again, the only thing I can think is that both sides just could care less. And it's just like, whatever.
But they have to show fight at the ground. We will slaughter them. We will slaughter them if they do not properly show character and fight. We will go absolutely crazy in that ground. The people will be absolutely...
But that's happened all season, has it not? They're not threatened by that anymore, are they? Realistically, not. The crowd's going to be getting on our back if we're not working hard. They're not working hard, and the crowd's on their back anyway.
Yeah, true.
So that's just like par for the course. If anything, I bet some of those players are almost like they're dreading playing tomorrow. You know what I mean? Because they're like,
you're right.
Here we go again, kind of thing. But again, that's on them. That's their fault. But I can guarantee that'll be some of their mentality. And it's just at this point, it really is. If this was a FIFA season, simulate to the end. I don't care what the results are. Okay, start again next season. That's what it'd be like. If it's on FM, if it's on Football Manager, go on holiday. Go on holiday settings. Right, play the rest of the games. That's what it would be at this point because it's just painful, right?
Yeah, it is. It is. No, you're right. But I do believe in the Old Trafford magic, and if it can produce a draw for us, I'll be extremely happy. And you never know. I'd like to see him start a couple of the youngsters. I don't think Rashford should start. Sancho's not out, so there's a position there to be filled. You never know. So we'll see.
Well, I always say, as Marcel, look, bless you for your optimism. Bless you for your optimism. You'll still, to the end, be like, you never know. We could get a draw here, guys.
Yeah.
We could be 4-0 down, and he'll be like, you know what? We just need the next goal.
It's possible. I've seen crazier things happen than that ground.
Exactly. Well, be sure to smash a like on the like button, guys. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. As we said as well, Marcel's Twitter is in the description box below. I want us to get multiple positivity things out of this show. So if you haven't already, follow Marcel on Twitter. Links in the description box below. Anyway, guys, look, we're out of here. Tomorrow it's match day. So we have a full match day experience. We have road trips. We have match views. We have full-time views. We have fan views as well. So now's the time to subscribe and you won't miss out on any of the stuff tomorrow. We're out of here. We'll speak to you again very soon. Peace.